everybody. Freak here with Jason Kaplan and the one and only Feral Pony, who still is not Morello.
That is true.
It is true. So, of course, we have our amazing live designer, Feral Pony, here. Used to make champions, now reworks them and crushes your dreams.
Just a little bit.
And it's always great to have you here. Of course, you were talking about Trundle a little bit, and we cut it short because esports.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk about Trundle some more real quick?
Sure, I can talk about Trundle a little bit. I mean, mostly, honestly, it's a visual rework more than a gameplay rework. The gameplay changes are honestly pretty light. Like, all of his abilities, they're being renamed to kind of match his Freljord theme.
Yeah.
But honestly, the mechanics aren't changing all that much. A few tweaks here and there. So,
Okay.
like, the biggest thing, honestly, from a gameplay perspective, is the sync up between the spell visual effects and the gameplay. So, before, the gameplay didn't really... It was not clearly communicated what he did and how he was doing it. So, like, he would ult somebody, right, and see, like, these little kind of floating bits of kind of garbage circling around him. And it's like, I don't know what that does. Well, actually, it steals all of your armor and magic resistance, right?
Yeah.
Like, that thing is huge and game-impacting. Well, now, when he steals you, you see this giant siphon effect as he steals your health. He actually gets bigger as he drains your stats away, and you get kind of smaller and shrink up and get really scared. And you should be, because he's a massive troll with all of your stats as he's smashing your face in. So, stuff like that is sort of one of the actually primary goal of the gameplay rework.
So walk us through one of the reworks you did that was more kit change focused, like Jax or any one of your other favorites.
Sure, I think Jax is actually one of the ones that kind of had the biggest kind of change. It was one of those things where we're removing dodge from the game. What do we do with Jax? He was a character that was entirely based around dodge. So, I mean, dodge is kind of fun. It has some cool gameplay and stuff. So generally the thought was, well, we could just remove it from the character, but it's so core to his theme. It's, kind of the spinning, parrying, blocking, and then counterattacking, right? Like, that's who Jax is. He's the arena fighter. So thought, well, if he can't have 10% dodge chance, let's try giving him a 100% dodge chance and see how that goes. So, that was really fun. Actually, we tried a few different variations on it, and I think it turned out pretty well. We're seeing some really cool plays there when he started seeing a lot more pro play, and, where someone would jump in. I remember there was one time when he 2v1, I think it was like, I can't remember who was playing now, but I know Hotshot was trying to jump on him, and he was playing Mundo, and he was like, the last auto was like mid-attack animation. Jax was like, Counter-Strike, and then double kill. And like, that's a really cool kind of play we like to see.
Well, I actually saw that as well in the...
World Finals. That was Shy.
Yeah, in the IEM World Finals.
The World Finals.
Oh, okay.
It was Shy, I believe, getting a double kill with Jax, who's in the top lane. And that was against CLG, wasn't it? Where they came in, and then he popped the Counter-Strike, picked up 2 kills against Olaf and Mundo.
That was exactly the play I was talking about.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I remember one actually much more recently in the IEM World Finals. It was Kevin up against SK Telecom T1 and had the exact same plays. Like 3-on-1 turret dived. He dodges everything, jumps away, actually forces everyone to flash out from him. And just like, yeah, it's fun to see those game-turning plays. So, okay, let's move the conversation forward a little bit.
Sure.
You pulled... Oh, I mean, did you want more
I
on
had a
reworks?
question I was curious about is... You were talking about Trundle, and you're talking about Jax, you're talking about their kit and how you reworked it, and you can see the enthusiasm, you can hear it in your voice. Like, how much fun is it to look at a champion if you're going to change abilities and keep it core to who they are? Like, you heard, you see Jax, he's spinning around, parrying, counter-striking, all that. Just really made me curious about how the other champions you deal with.
I mean, the job is extremely fun. I might even use, like, an expletive fun, but I probably shouldn't say that on air.
Freaking fun?
Freaking fun. Oh, no, not freaking fun.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's say it's super awesome. I love my job.
Okay. No, I just want to ask that.
Oh, okay, fair. So you had pulled up Twitter questions, or not Twitter questions, sorry.
Reddit questions.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So we'll start off by saying head over to Reddit if you have any questions. Ask Feral Pony. I believe he'll be with us here, and then he'll also be with us a little bit tomorrow. You can ask some questions, but we have a couple of good ones that we wanted to point out. How do you feel about the health pot stacking, and how's that going to get addressed?
Interesting question. That's actually one of those things that has a lot of impact on the game right now. It's actually one of the things that's being, we're not really happy with it, to be totally honest. We don't really like mass consumable starts. People starting 9 pots, 2 wards. It doesn't lead to super interesting gameplay. People aren't really happy with it either. We've been talking to all the pro players from different teams, and they're all not super thrilled about it, and we're not thrilled about it either. So we will be seeing some changes to that soon. The actual nuances and direct changes are still being worked out by the live team. It's one of those things that actually we were here talking to the EU players, gathering all their feedback, ideas, suggestions, all that kind of fun stuff. And we're going to bring it back and have a big roundtable discussion on it and talk about all this kind of stuff. I think one thing that we will probably see in the near future, I mean, I can't guarantee this, I don't want to set false expectations or something like that, but we probably will be limiting the number of health potions you can have at any given time.
Okay.
I'm not sure, maybe some number like 5 or 7, something like that, right? But really the 9 health potion starts aren't really fun for everyone, and aren't really fun for anyone. I should be specify, not everyone, anyone. And it's actually honestly shutting out a lot of other champions, especially champions who previously were really taken for their sustain qualities. Don't really need anymore, and it's really reducing lane harass and early game aggression and all that kind of stuff.
Actually, yeah, that was my second question. And there's the other side of that coin, the health pot stacking that makes champions viable.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, against certain like champions, like your counter, if you bring 9 health potions and like a ward, you're going to survive at least long enough till you get a first item or two. How's that going to be really affected?
I think it can be big. I think it's one of those things where season 2 to season 3, we saw a massive shift in how much sustain people were getting in lane.
Right.
And actually, they had some good impacts on champion diversity. Caston is a character that honestly was not played previously because he just got shoved so hard out of lane. He just got bullied and beaten up. And the health potion kind of stuff has helped him out a lot, and we see him back in competitive play now because he can survive the laning phase. That's not bad inherently, but I think we've gone too far with it, and we can scale it back a little bit and kind of get the best of both worlds.
Okay. And do you have a question one more question on that, or do you want to move on to the next topic?
I was going to go next topic. I think that makes the most sense. So speaking of champions who weren't played a lot and kind of got changed around with Season 3 with potions, tell me about summoner spells that aren't used very much anymore.
Okay, so summoner spells are a little bit of a tricky topic. There's a lot of nuances there, a lot of things that happen. We have been seeing some shifts, for example. Ghost, for example, is being picked up more than it was previously. So some of these stuff will kind of naturally come out, and people will experiment with them, that kind of stuff. We are going to be testing and continuing to try out variations of some of the lesser used summoner spells, maybe Clarity, Clairvoyance, those kind of things that don't see a lot of play in either competitive or casual play.
Okay.
I'm not going to, say anything that we're currently testing.
So close to get the information out of it.
Almost.
So you didn't bring a can opener to spill the beans.
I didn't.
You started answering, then it was like, freak no.
Yeah, pretty much.
I imagine this is what the day-to-day life is between
This is every
office.
day at the LA office. Every single day.
Okay.
Working at Riot just got even more awesome, ladies and gentlemen.
That wink. Anyways, another question up is we see a lot of champions coming to light in competitive play. Like, that came out of nowhere. Like, Singed kind of came back out of nowhere. We had Volibear come out of nowhere, Nasus. How do you guys address any balance issues with those champions when they come into play? Like, when they just all of a sudden come out of nowhere?
It can be really, really hard, actually, to be totally honest. I mean, we have some predictions internally. I think Nasus was the one that we actually saw was kind of like, he's probably on the borderline. Like, he could be really, really close to seeing massive competitive play, and then he did. Other stuff like, I know Xin was one that we thought for a long time was probably competitively viable. We just didn't see him. Sometimes we have a kind of an inkling or gut feeling of what's going to happen. We have some data to support this and stuff too, but other times they totally blindside us. And that's honestly kind of the fun of the job as well, is that you don't really know what's going to happen, right? Like, you don't know, some people are going to find some really cool play for a character. I think like Lux kind of came out of nowhere and kind of just fit in perfectly in almost every team comp now. So we have to kind of, look at Lux a little bit, kind of figure out what her issues are. How can we kind of make the character not kind of shove out a lot of these other mid picks? So usually what we want to focus on is the power level of the character, but as well as sort of the gameplay the character brings, and also, is this character completely overshadowing other characters? So we want to be sure that they basically all three of those are good.
Okay. And I kind of wanted to take that a step further and ask, like, you mentioned it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
So if you balance one champion, like, and it has the potential to affect, like the butterfly effect, to do a lot more, like, isn't that really hard to monitor?
Yes, it's incredibly difficult. Thankfully, we actually have an amazing competitive scene. So we have tons of data to gather. We also have millions of players. So we have millions of games every single day that we can pull data from. We can check. We can see how does Lux fare against Morgana in this lane, and we can literally see every single pairing and we have all this tons of data that helps us out. And honestly, we also play the game a lot, which also helps. Also, everyone in Riot plays the game a lot too. So we get a lot of feedback from everyone in the company. We get feedback from community. We get feedback from pro players. So it's really difficult, but we have such a wealth of information and data to help us out.
Okay. Cool. So So when a new champion comes out, right? Like, you guys have inklings when they're just out on live and you wonder if they're going to come out in competitive. How do you balance champions that come out as new champions?
Oh, that can be incredibly tricky. I think one of the examples is sometimes we expect a character to be played in a certain way, and we'll do some tests, where we try different things out. But I think one of these examples would be Zyra. She's a character that we were like pretty much dead set that she was going to be a mid character. I mean, we tried some support games with her and that kind of stuff, but it didn't really pan out very well. And we were like, probably not. That doesn't really make sense for her to be in the support role. And then all of a sudden she shipped, and like 2 weeks later, she was like the #1 support by far, right? And so that kind of stuff is a little bit startling sometimes, but it's also really awesome to see. Like, I love the fact that our community experiments. I love the fact that they, try things that we don't. It's not fun always accounting for everything.
Sure.
So I love the fact that our community tries new things. And
Okay, so one final question before we get the game started. And I'm cheating with this question a little bit because I know how it happens.
Okay.
So how do you, as live design, because I'm trying to lead you to the right question without answering it. How do you prepare for a champion launch, and how do you prepare for it being overpowered or underpowered on release?
So generally, what happens is we try to do a ton of testing on a champion. We do a ton of theory craft, math craft, and we also do PBE as well, which is also a huge help. The champion's out usually 2-3 weeks before we actually ship. So that gives also a lot of data to pull from in addition to all that.
Yeah.
But generally what we do is we actually prepare, like we have a massive document basically on every champion that's about to come out and say, if it turns out this champion is overpowered or underpowered in different aspects, how are we planning to address this in the future? And as a team, we work all of that out ahead of time. So for example, it's like, hey, this character could be really, really powerful in top lane. How are we going to respond to that? Or maybe they become problematic in a pushing case, or maybe they're just objectives. Their ability to secure objectives is too good.
Okay.
Yes. So, we plan out all these situations and kind of, figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to respond.
All right, well, thank you very much. Of course, pleasure talking to you, and thank you for your insight.
Thank you.
Jason, as well, thank you very much. And, of course, we do have our final match of the day, Fnatic versus Gambit. Guys, don't click that mouse. Let's send it over to Joe and Quickshot.
Thanks a lot, guys. So moving into our final game of day 1 here of week 8. It's a lot of numbers, but we can bring you even more because it's first against second here. Fnatic versus Gambit. Fnatic currently 16 wins for 3 losses. Gambit 14 wins for 4 losses. These two teams are really close right now. For Fnatic, it could be a big leap in that first position. For Gambit, they could be closing that gap right off.
They definitely need to pick up a win here, Gambit, if they want to close the gap between second and first. Currently, Fnatic are sitting 16-3. 16 wins, 3 losses. Gambit are currently sitting 14-4. So, if Gambit lose this and they go 14-5, they're only a couple of losses behind SK and EG going into the last 2 weeks. Like we've been saying, this is first and second in the season, and the last time that these two teams will ever meet in the first half of the LCS split.
Yeah, and it is 2-1 in favor of Gambit. They were 2-0. Obviously, the third game that we saw was in Lille, and what an awesome match it was as well, with Fnatic coming out on top of that one. So they're going to look to go 2 for 2, which I think against a team like Gambit, they can be very happy with in the long term in terms of how they planned their season to go. Okay, we play Gambit 4 times. What do we expect? I think 2 for 2. Not a bad result.
That's a respectable result indeed. In terms of Fnatic's 3 losses, they have 2 of them at the hands of Gambit and only 1 upset loss to the Copenhagen Wolves. Every single other game that this team has played, they have been victorious in. So it really, really paints a picture of how close Fnatic and Gambit really are in this matchup.
Well, let's have a look at the two teams then here, starting with Fnatic, who have blue side for this one. They have Soaz, Cyanide, Xpeke, Yellow Star, and Enrated.
And of course, for Gambit, Darian, Diamond Prox, Alex Sish, the Pentakill, Vote For Me, All-Star player, Genja, and Edward.
So Fnatic started off here as a number 2 team, but this match can bring them back to that 2-2. And to be honest, if they beat Gambit here, they're going to be feeling like they are the favorites for that number 1.
Yeah, it's exactly like you were saying. The first, I think, 4 or 5 weeks, it was Gambit that was sitting way out ahead in first place, and it was only after Fnatic managed to catch up to them and overtake them with a victory in Lille about 2 weeks ago that they claimed that first spot, and they've been holding on to it very, very securely. Last weekend, we watched them dismantle against All Authority. Earlier today, we watched a very one-side affair against SK Gaming. And Gambit, of course, they stomped their way through EG. So 2 stompy games. Who's going to come out on top in this one?
Well, fingers crossed this is going to be an awesome one. If it's anything like the game in Lille, then we're all going to be fine and going to be at the end of it with very, very happy smiles on our faces. But let's have a look at the two teams a little bit more in depth here. We've picked out both support players for Fnatic and Gambit, starting with Fnatic support, Enrated. Now, he's died almost twice as much as Edward so far this season, but actually has more assists. Mostly, we should say, because Edward didn't assist in the kills. He took them.
Well, that's a very, very good point indeed. The fact that Enrated had a little bit of a shaky mid-season, the middle couple of weeks, he was being banned out, playing a lot of Leona. He was forced to learn some new supports, and he picked up Nunu for a couple of times. He played a very good Lulu earlier in the matchup. But right now, he has a 100% win rate with both Nunu and Leona. Hence the reason he's drawing bans, because he's such an influential player for his team.
Yeah, and we could say he's got a little bit of a limited champion pool compared to the rest of his team, which actually, as a support, when you compare him to other supports, he's actually not that bad in terms of what he can play and what he can bring to the table. He's also the shot caller for Fnatic. We've seen many a video where he's telling him to calm down and do exactly what he's been called in the game. So he's a big voice in this Fnatic lineup.
I can hear his voice in my head saying, don't take risks. We just need the tower, man. We just need the tower, in that German accent. Of course, for Gambit, we have the Thresh Prince, also known as Edward. He has the highest KDA in the entirety of the EU LCS, sitting at 7.2. His kill secure play on both Lulu and Thresh are phenomenal, and he has a 100% win rating on Thresh.
Yeah, he's also consistently more aggressive than his AD carry, or his support, Genja, as we've said quite a few times in here. And we'll see how their whole style fits together in this one as well. But, Genja, when we look at him back towards Intel Extreme Masters, he was the one, finally, that was being aggressive. Yeah. But it seems like Edward just said, hold on a minute, Genja. Don't get too big for your boots here. I need a few of these kills.
There's one thing about Edward that is really impressive. He does not speak English very often. Even earlier today, he baited us into saying he was going to do an English interview, but he didn't. And
we'll get him sometime.
Well, one day. He's so well known and so well loved because of his gameplay. Yeah. He's not a publicly outspoken person. He doesn't do too many interviews. You don't actually hear or see too much of him on the likes of Reddit or Twitter. But everybody knows who the Thresh Prince is because his gameplay is just so phenomenally good.
Yeah, I think the most we see him really is on Twitter talking to, I think it was X-Special or someone from the NALCS, and they said, he could call me Big Bad Eddie. And I was like, yeah, that's just Edward all over. Big Bad Eddie with his kill secures. To stay at the top of the leaderboard, though, both Gambit and Fnatic know that failure today is not really an option. Let's see what they had to say about why they need to avoid those mistakes when playing this game.
At the moment it is close fight, so I think it will keep the same. I think we and Fnatic are kind of like ahead.
You always have to take care when you play against them because they prepare a lot for the games.
You just need to make really fast decisions, and sometimes these decisions can be wrong. And if your decision is wrong, it's a mistake, and they just get the advantage from that.
They punish mistakes very hard against us. Every time we won early game, or at least we had no disadvantage. And when it comes to mid game, there was one fight or one mistake going on that snowballed basically the whole game down. They are really enemies of us, and right now we are competing for the first place versus them, and we have to win them, and there's no other option.
No other option for Fnatic here to take down Gambit, and to be honest, it's pretty much the same from Gambit's point of view. If they want to secure that first spot, that would leave them at 2-2, and then it's really how they go against everyone else. You can't afford any other upsets in the season.
No, none at all, and we've got a lot of games still to play.
Yeah, we're only in week 8 here.
Yeah, only on week 8. Each team will play 28 games in total, and right now Fnatic still have 9 remaining, including this matchup. So let's say they lose all 9. They all of a sudden finish 16-12 in the season, and that's not a very good win percentage. So there's still a lot of shuffling that can happen back and forth between these two teams. I do specifically want to refer to the victory that Fnatic had over Gambit in Lille, France. It was an incredibly chaotic match. Xpeke was playing Twisted Fate again. That's no surprise to anybody. And it reminded me a lot of the gameplay, the chaotic gameplay that Giants used to defeat Gambit the 2 times that they have. It was battles all over the place, all over the map, all the time.
One thing we can say is that if Fnatic now go on the biggest losing streak of all time and lose every single game, they still can't finish bottom. Correct. And they would only be tied then on losses. In fact, they can't even finish in the bottom 2 because Copenhagen Wolves also have 13 losses. AAA and Ozone Giants are both with 12 losses apiece as well. So they're safe from that bottom 2 position, which is job done in one way.
Yeah.
On the other side, though, of course, they're not even thinking about being at relegation. They're thinking about how they turn this into a title chase. Into the picks and the bans either way. Fnatic banning out Shen, Renekton, and Thresh. So quite a few targeted in there towards Darien.
Yeah, 2 for Darien, 1 for Edward. They do not want that in there. You can see on the other side, they have removed Varus from Yellow Star, mirroring what we've been saying for a long time, that it's probably his strongest AD at the moment.
Yeah.
And of course, Leona once again targeted at N-rated. It was his Lulu play that really impressed us earlier today, though. So we might see another misfortune, or might see another Lulu combo, which is what they ran earlier today.
Yeah, Jarvan also banned out there for Cyanide in that one, and Misfortune was the first pick for Fnatic. Looks like Gambit going to secure 2 highly contested picks from their side. We've seen time and time again their abilities to play both Elise and Nasus in the jungle. Now,
Elise is most likely going to be in that top lane position, and it's a very, large statement saying this is who we want to play. There is one thing that I want to point out. It could be support Elise. Crepo did it about 2 weeks ago.
Could be.
And Elise is one of those champions that I spoke in depth with the Freak about regarding the positioning, the fact that there's so much diversity and they can go in so many different lanes.
Yeah.
And it's definitely meaning that Fnatic are going to have to second guess themselves. Is that support? Is it top lane? Is it jungle? Not likely going to be jungle because Diamond has the dog, of course.
The dog is in there. Kha'Zix and Lulu, so your prediction of a Lulu Misfortune lane comes true. Kha'Zix, obviously, we saw earlier on from Alex Sitch, he told everyone to vote for him because he made a pentakill. And he's a very good Kha'Zix player. So, from the side that both Soaz and Peke can play that, taking it away from Alex Sitch is just an added bonus.
Exactly, but I do want to say that both Twisted Fate and Zed are still open and available, and are both champions that Alex has played to great, extent in the past. So we'll see if they decide to lock that in. You could actually see Nunu was being hovered over for a couple of seconds there, did get swapped out, and they're probably going to go for a little bit more of a de facto standard AD support. If it is Sona, it's what Edward played earlier today as well. So he's going to be on Comfort. But Genji returning to Ez, it's not one that we've seen in high-profile play for a little bit of time. Nono has been playing it fairly consistently, but Ez has dropped off the map a little bit in terms of usage.
And I can hear the crowd through 3 or 4 walls here screaming because a Teemo's been hovered over there. And just like in Lil, it's all a lie. We're not going to be seeing that Teemo coming in. If we were, then I would be very, very impressed. I mean, we've seen the jungle Malzahar today, so I suppose anything really is possible, but still not falling for it. The crowd's still cheering over Teemo. There is a Volibear, which you would almost say is a guaranteed for Cyanide.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm thinking as well. I imagine that Kha'Zix is potentially going to be either in that mid lane or in the top lane being used by Soaz and Peke. This is a question that you can see the team, they're really thinking about who they want to pick in, because you have the option, you have the choice to put Kha'Zix wherever. The fact that the AP middle has still not 100% been locked in for Gambit means they're going to decide who they want. Twisted Fate being locked in means Peke is going to be using that in the mid lane. And if Alex wants to go very aggressive, he could take Zed to immediately counter push and shut him down. Alternatively, he could pick Diana, and we can see the same matchup again for the 3rd time today.
Yeah, it will be the 3rd time Twisted Fate versus Diana. However, both of those times Twisted Fate was on the red team, Diana was on the blue team, so that would be different here, which may or may not have an influence on how things go. There is a Fizz being hovered over, but again, it's Edward. So let's not count anything until it's locked in.
It is very, very true. Edward does look very serious, though, and it is locked in. So Fizz is going to be going up in the mid lane against Twisted Fate. So this is an awesome, awesome pickup for a number of reasons. First and foremost, once Fizz picks up a little bit of ability power, he can wave clear very, very effectively with his Playful Trickster, his E. If he goes aggressive, he can shut down Xpeke really quickly because the burst damage is very, very high. And it is so easy to dodge wild cards and the pick a card with your E. So he's got a lot of options to play with. And it's going to come down to individual players to who wins out this lane. But I would put money on Fizz being able to out-duel Twisted Fate.
Really, really interesting choice there. First time that we're going to see Alex Sitch playing Fizz here in European LCS this season. We did see before LCS started, he had played quite a bit of Fizz online and what have you, but this is the first time that he's really bringing him out as a major pick.
Yeah, it's an important match as well. There's some awesome dog tags there, which came from the Pro Player Summit from my little Fnatic brand badges on there. But the thing that I'm very excited about here is, of course, the fish. There is some fishy business in the water now, and it's going to be up to Alex Alex to get, to land those chum in the waters and to really put pressure down onto the members of Fnatic. The thing that's really good about that ultimate as well is when combined against the targets of who's going to be running at him and chasing at him. When Kha'Zix jumps in, just fish him. If Volibear runs at you, just fish him too. So I really like the counterplay options that are available there for Alex.
I'm sorry. I'm sure Freak is already thinking of the 1,000,001 puns that he could be saying right now. But rest assured, we are going to the analysis desk afterwards, and he'll have a whole list of fishy puns available for that one. So, our final game of the day here, Saturday of the European LCS Week 8. And it is, of course, Fnatic taking on Gambit Gaming, two major heavyweights here in Worldwide League of Legends. And as we get into the game, we're going to have a little bit of a pause. And we see the admins there just behind are going to be helping and asking Alex. We could troll him and be like, "Can you smell fish?"
I think there's something fishy going on with this pause right now. Well, it is going to be interesting to see whether or not the Volibear of Cyanide can catch those salmon running upstream. And if he does, it's definitely not one that is going to help him out in this matchup. I'm sorry, Joe, but I think I'm going to channel my inner Freak for this match.
I think we need to call a pun embargo on this one because I don't know. I don't want to see the COD Wars all over again. Here we go then. Fnatic versus Gambit. We are in game. Fnatic, of course, on the blue side for this one. Let's see what Gambit are going to do. Talk us through level 1 here, quick shot.
Okay, so in terms of level 1, I definitely feel that Fnatic have a stronger position in this particular space. They have Glitter Lance, they have a potential for Gold Card. If Volibear gets a Rolling Thunder, they could get it. Genja's about to face check, he may be in trouble.
Oh, there's a Gold Card coming in on towards Genja. He's flashed, can he get away from it? He's had to use that E early on, but Yellow Star comes in, first blood. Here's another stun card landing it onto Edward. Have they got the damage? He flashes away. Won't be 2 kills, at least for now. Nasus and Fizz both starting to come up to this top side, but Genja there, face checking, had to level up that Arcane Shift, had to use the flash, not the start that the Russians were looking for.
Such good play from Xpeke and from Yellow Star. They did 2 things there that were very, very good. First and foremost, Yellow Star with Strut got into position before anybody else. Peke also started with boots and pots. That's not something we see all that often anymore. And there's a lot of people that say, well, starting boots pots is a waste. Peke managed to get all the way up to the Tribush before his opponents could, and it's that simple. Gold Card plus some auto attacks allowed them to pick up that first blood. 2 assists on the board of Fnatic, and an early start and advantage for their bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, you see Misfortune there with that first blood monies has gone in for the longsword added into that Doran's blade there right from the very get-go. There's a ward picked up by Peke, extra pots in there as well. As you said, did start boots and 3 pots for that one. So really interesting start to this, as we would have expected from Fnatic versus Gambit. And look at this, Fnatic are on the invade once again.
Now, they did walk straight over a ward, so Gambit are fully aware of this, and you can see the reply as Nasus is immediately moving up and around towards the Fnatic blue. Because of that first blood and the additional wards, they have full vision of it, and they know that Diamond Prox is up, so they're not going to be able to secure this. They get the Gold Card down into Edward, and can they get another kill?
Yeah, this is a 2v2, and to be honest, Edward's not very strong at this level. He's still level 1. Can they get a finisher? Yes, they can. Soaz gets that kill, but can he get away from Diamond? There's a Spirit Fire. Diamond ends that one, but in the meantime, that blue buff, I believe, was taken away there by Fnatic, and see that they've left something up there in the camp, and it is with Cyanide.
So Cyanide actually stole away the blue buff there from Gambit. Diamond Prox managed to get up in range and smite away that blue, but they traded a kill for a blue buff, and I have to feel that if you're Fnatic, you prefer giving the kill and the gold to your Kha'Zix, who can pick up now a longsword to go with his pots, potions, and wards, and return to lane. We see some shenanigans coming out from Fnatic. They do not want to let the fish get free farm, and they put up the duo lane of Misfortune and Lulu against him so that N-Rated can zone Alex as best as possible.
Oh, Peke in the top lane there, though. I'm not sure what happened there. We didn't really get to see much of it, but it was a 1v1. It was Genja versus Xpeke, and Genja got the better of him for that kill, but now we see Alexic coming up towards his top lane as well. Are they going to go for an early tower here?
It does look like they're going to go for a lane swap, I believe. I think Alex wants to try to get the most optimal lane possible because he has a superior 1v1, superior dueling capabilities against the likes of Twisted Fate, which is why he's swapping. An instant reply, though, from Fnatic. They're sending the duo lane up to the top, and you can immediately see Peke with Twisted Fate going to the middle. 3 minutes into the game, we got 2 kills to 2, and the fishy business started with Fizz and has continued throughout this game. I have no idea what else to expect, but it's already a crazy, crazy start to the last match of the day.
Well, all we know is if one team carries on like this, then they could end up getting battered. Fizz moving back in towards the middle against XPK for this one. The stun card comes down, but you see the power of the fish. He gets in there, but can he get away from the bear? He's taking a lot of turrets hits here. And Cyanide moving in there. He's got that red buff on to keep the slow up, and he only needs one more bite as he bites him in the backside for the kill. So as in the bottom lane being troubled here as well as the rappel comes down. Spirit Fire in there. So as trying to get away, but he will die. Darian took another hit from the turret there, but with the ignite, he still won't go down.
Such good play coming out there from Gambit to pick up the 2v1 in the bottom lane. Everybody knows that dogs and spiders eat insects, but now the bear wants to get on the dog. Can he get the flip backwards? There is a turret there, but there's a minion wave, so Diamondprox should be able to get to safety, and he does.
Yeah, the Wither there really saving his life. Would have been a lot of damage coming out. Let's take a look at the CS, because to be honest, it's all over the place at this point. Elise to Kha'Zix, 25-8. Darian, we know him as a person who really likes his 1v1 lanes, however things go. And the whole time that everything's been going off there, he has been farming. 25-8 CS when you compare them. There's a 10 CS lead in the jungle as well. But if you look at the gold, 1,400 to 1,400. Though, bit of a lead with the kill and the assist there for Kha'Zix. In the middle lane, 6-7. Just no farming being done so far between XPK and Alexic. The AD carries 36-30. Both got a kill apiece. It's about a 200 gold difference, but obviously the kill for Misfortune was a first blood.
Up until those last couple of creep kills there for Alexic, I'm trying to fish out information from my brain, and I can't think of any time previously where both Peke or Alex have had 1 CS per minute average at the 6-minute mark. It's unbelievable, and it's just because of the craziness that's been going on and these lane swaps. 2 members of Fnatic are hiding up in this top bush, but they're standing on top of a ward, and Diamondprox is waiting to come in. He has that Wither available, and we've already seen Genja go toe-to-toe with Peke. In the mid lane, though, Peke's in trouble.
Yeah, Alexic is going to dive this one. There is the ignite down. One more auto attack will finish him off. Will he get another tower hit? No, he gets away. And now we see Diamond coming into this top lane. They've baited him out completely. Yellow Star is burning down. Finished off by Genja, and the trap was set, and Fnatic fall for it. Hook, line, and sinker.
Completely free kill there. Alex wants more. He has the Playful Trickster available if he decides to go aggressive under the turret, and he starts to recall, so decides to back away, decides to get, to safety, and 6-3 up, 1,000 gold lead. Gambit they're the ones making the chaotic plays. This is what has defeated them in the past, and they're playing the game that they seem to be weak against at the moment.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, XPK's Twisted Fate, a completely different time for him this game around. I mean, he is now 0-3-3 with 15 CS after 7 minutes. Total chaos on all sides of the Summoner's Rift right now. We see that Enrated is finally going to be joined. Volibear is coming into this top lane as well, but in the end goes back. Genja had come down south. Don't think a ward spotted him there. I think that was just a whole Spidey sense thing going on to make him realize that something's happened. We've seen how often XPK has had to come back here to farm those raids, which in the middle you'll see them do anyway, but he's really had to rely on that at this point, because in lane against this Fizz, he's losing out pretty hard.
Really badly in that middle lane. Alex has been able to, out and pick up those kills time and time again without even the use of his ultimate. So now that he is 6 to Twisted Fate's 5, as soon as he does use Chum the Waters, XPK is going to go down even quicker. The bear has found Diamondprox. He eats a gold card.
Stun card coming in, but can they finish him off? Do they have the damage? Here comes Fizz from the side. Chum the Waters goes in there. Actually goes between both Peke and Cyanide, and they get nothing from the first ultimate of Alex.
Neither of them interested in the lobster, so they don't order it. Step or slide and manage to stay alive. Yellow Star has snuck up behind, and if they get the flip, Alex is in trouble.
Alex trying to get away here, but there is the flip. Yellow Star is involved. The barrier used, and Alex is trying to turn things around now on towards Peke, but can he get away from this one? Stun card is going to be pulled here by by Peke. There is the slow. Alexic going back off towards Peke, but the stun comes out. Yellowstar gets the kill. Meanwhile, the Spider down at the bottom going in towards Soaz. There's the repel. He's going all in on this one, but the turret helping Soaz out. Now Volibear is coming down to get involved as well. He is at full HP as he goes sprinting in. Nice cocoon comes out of Darien, but he's in no man's land right now, and Darien's going to have to try and delay this long enough to get that suicide in. There is the Destiny pop. There is the damage that Cyanide has been looking for, and Darien, he's not going to escape. 5-6 to Gambit still.
The gold has been closed, evened out little bit by little bit as this matchup is played, and that whole engagement started out with Peke really toying with his life, but keeping at the maximum range of that Urchin strike from Fizz. He's avoided the Q. He stayed far enough away that once the Playful Trickster landed, he was able to put down the gold card and lock Alex up, and then of course managed to chase down to the bottom. Well played by Soaz to survive in that bottom lane, but he burned absolutely everything. Cyanide may think about a flash steal, but he doesn't have flash, so it's not going to happen.
Thought about it, just couldn't do it. He's an excellent player when it comes to flashing and stealing. Not this time around, though. And Diamond as well. He's not scared of going for solo dragons. We saw a level 3 Udyr dragon from him previously in the European LCS here. There's Peke finally getting a bit of farm back towards him. He's had to go double Doran's ring here at the start. That shows you the struggles that he's having, that extra bit of health, the bit of AP as well coming in as well. But I think that Fizz with those 2 kills is going to start to really cause him, if he's not already been causing him a load of problems already. So Fnatic here going to be giving that blue buff over on towards Peke. In the top lane, Genja and Edward actually starting to push on towards that turret once again. Let's have a look how much health has been lost. Not really too much. And Yellowstar will stop any more, and any loss CS.
And I think the reasoning for that is fairly simple. Genja is winning out that lane. He's got near to 30 CS advantage in that top lane. If they shove the tower down, it means he needs to start roaming, and that difference can be caught up a little bit easier. So the longer he can draw out this laning phase, the further the advantage can be. You've noticed Yellowstar and Rated have done practically nothing in that top lane because they've been defending for so long. Genja has a BF sword advantage over his lane opponent, and anytime they duel and go toe-to-toe, it's definitely going to be Genja that wins out.
As he say that, a BF sword picked up by Yellowstar, but no, in the moment you were correct. He's just gone back and picked that one up there.
Up until that point.
Yeah, you were right on that one. But the difference now is at least something boots, which is what Yellowstar has over Genja. Obviously, until he decides to go back and prove me wrong as well. This bottom lane, which of course is a solo lane this time around, Darien versus Soaz. Darien still has a lead, but if you compare that to what it was earlier on, it's been brought back completely.
And something that I've only just noticed, and I don't know how on earth I missed it, Darien has gone for a Sightstone. So he's working towards a Ruby Sightstone as your solo lane Elise. It's obviously going to give him some HP, which is great, and the base numbers on Elise is always very, very good. She does percentage HP damage, but that's a first in the LCS for the top lane to pick that item up. Who let the dog out right now because he was thinking about a top lane dive as Soaz and Darien are fighting?
Yeah, this is actually, I'm not sure which way that's going to go. You can see that both players losing a lot of HP and both not really wanting to fight that one out. Soaz tries to get the Void spiked over, just blocked off there. There is a dog and a bear as we are going to see Twisted Fate getting involved here. Can they lock Diamond down? Where's the fling back as the True Shot barrage goes down the middle and Fizz is getting right in on top of them. Cyanide going low. Alex going to be focused. There's a great crescendo. It's Peke going to be dropped. Yellowstar now trying to get away. That is a 3-for-1 here for Gambit. They've lost Alex Hitch, but when the Wither comes up here for Diamond, it's bad news for Yellowstar. There is the Wither. Spirit Fire goes down. Diamond tanking up the turret, which he can't really afford to do. They've let Yellowstar get away and change their focus onto Soaz, who had got Edward very, very low here. The Ignite will finish him off. Soaz may get 2. No, the Arcane Shift will get him away there, Genja. Yellowstar tried to get involved as well at the end. Another crazy, crazy time here.
Soaz was level 8. He was not level 11, which meant he did not have any resets on his leap. He couldn't deal additional damage. He managed to at least pick up 1 in that engagement, but because of such a fantastic crescendo from Edward, it locked up Fnatic, and they ended up trading, I think, 3-for-1 in that particular engagement. So very well played. Down in the bottom lane, Darien, free farm, allowed to take out the bottom turret and extend their gold lead to 3,000 gold right now. Alex Hitch is terrifying, but he didn't use Chum the Waters in that engagement. He was stun locked and CC'd for so long, he was unable to use his ultimate, and that could have actually pushed the fight even further in their favor.
There is a ward down by Alex. Just wants to keep as much vision of that Twisted Fate as he can. Top side of the jungle, you can see got a couple of wards down by Gambit outside of blue, and on that curved corner, one from Fnatic right in the top bush there by Edward, which will be taken away here by a pink ward, and one in the tri-bush, just warding away from you know, a possible 3-man gank to this top lane. That will actually be running out here. As now Alex again is going to go in towards Xpeke, actually misses his ultimate, but he might not even need it here. He's going to finish him off there. Nicely done. That is just walking underneath the tower. Boom, you're dead.
There's absolutely nothing Peke can do to survive the damage that Alexic is putting down. Peke's going to need to get himself towards a Zhonya's Hourglass, or maybe pick up some additional magic resistance to try and survive, but that's just going to slow him down on his build. So, well played by Alex. You could see he's really thought about the fact that Peke was going to pick Twisted Fate, and he's picked a champion that can really, really stomp his opponent. Now, think back to the matchup last week where Copenhagen Wolves were facing off against Gambit. Alex was playing Twisted Fate, and he was losing 1v1 against Bjergsen Zed, and he was saying, I'm trying the feed strat, go 0-6 and still win. Peke may be trying the same. He doesn't have that same dueling capabilities or damage, but obviously he's going to offer a little bit more in terms of map presence than Fizz will offer in this matchup.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of utility, which is what Fnatic have got to rely on right now. We can see, pulls out the red card. Destiny is available. The problem that he has is, where does he get involved right now? If you look at the minimap, they're all fairly far back on the tower. Like, there's no real room there for Twisted Fate to go in, probably unless Cyanide is there to be tanking up those tower hits as we go. Obviously, we are on the latest patch, so the towers hurt that little bit more than they did before, which I'm not sure that the players will be 100% accustomed to by now.
Yeah, it's a fairly recent change. I mean, 3.5 was only applied about a week and a half ago or so on the servers, and you can see Diamond Prox coming in behind Peke. Is he going to eat the lobster for dinner?
Here we go, already half HP gone down. There's a fling back from Cyanide. He's done a great job to protect Xpeke from that one. Here comes the Destiny. Where's the stun card? There it is. He's hitting from the tower now as well. A double kill for Cyanide. And there's the power of the bear. Pulls Alexic away from Xpeke. Then they turn it around, stun him under the tower. Great play out of Fnatic.
Another time we see Alexic not getting his Chumber Waters off in one of these engagements. And it's one of those things we see when you use new champions. Like when Snoopy was playing Malzahar. He didn't quite use his ultimate as often as maybe he should have. Alexic using Fizz. Maybe he could have got Chumber Waters off, maybe he couldn't, but the fact that it wasn't is the reason he didn't pick up that kill.
And you saw that, actually, Twisted Fate just going through past the tower, getting rid of those minions before they could come in to defend it all. Dragon, by the way, is now up and available. Obviously, we saw it soloed last time around by Diamond Proc, so he's actually headed to that section of the map here with Darian around as well. They may think about going in for the Dragon, and as I say, Darian is going to turn around. Diamond going to join in. This is going to be a 2-man, a 3-man when Alexic comes down with Fizz. He's on his way.
And there's no vision there for Fnatic, so they may have their spider senses tingling that Elise is missing and going for Drake, but they will have no idea about the timing on it. The previous time it happened, Cyanide did put a ward down and just stood there and cried a little bit to himself because there was nothing he could do to interrupt it. This time round, there isn't even any tears of sadness because he had no information. Blue buff picked up there by Peke, 97 CS on the board, but a good percentage of those creeps does come from neutral monsters, so the amount of gold that he's actually got in his back pocket will be, you know, a little bit less than what there would be if it was 97 mid lane CS.
As Yellowstar doing a good job. He's trying to obviously catch up to Genji, who's got a big CS total over him, 147 to 110. Got an extra kill. Both AD carries doing well here in terms of the kills, but in terms of difference in items, that's a Bloodthirster apiece and a full Last Whisper picked up there by Genji.
Now that Last Whisper is going to help so much on those Mystic shots, just continually chunking through his opponent, especially when you see Xpeke has got that Seeker's Arm Guard collected. So he's obviously going to be working towards that Zhonya's Hourglass to either dodge the ultimate or dodge the damage from the ultimate once he's been hit. And it's one of the biggest important things when facing off against a Fizz. You need to avoid some of the burst damage. And when we look at how Alex is leveling his Fizz, he has got 5 points into Playful Trickster, 4 points into the Sea Urchin Strike, which is the Q, and that's obviously for the most damage possible.
Alex, right now, he stood right on top of a ward. The stun card, actually, did it land on him there?
He to dodge
yeah, he did, oh, yeah. So that is good from Alex, as Darian now going to be pushed onto here by Soaz, but Darian just turning around saying, don't get too clever, you can't take me down yet.
Yeah, as an insect, he wasn't caught in the spider's web, so he was able to escape with those wings, and now that he is level 11, he can get the resets as well, which is very, very important. Once they get into these team fights, one good collection of leaps, hops, skips, and jumps can put you in the fight. We've seen Alex getting a pentakill with Kha'Zix earlier. No pressure, Soaz, but I think he can do it again.
I'm not sure about that. We'll have to see. You never know. This has been a crazy game so far. I don't want to rule any kind of situation out as we push along. There is Alex again hammering down on this outer turret, but the minions are gone and he hops away.
I don't think I've ever seen Xpeke that scared before. He was staying a full, wild cards distance away from the turret, away from Alex's range because of the burst he's so afraid of. And it's just one of those situations where luckily Twisted Fate can still CS and can still farm because of the range on those wild cards. But obviously not being able to stay up close means when they start sieging a tower, Alex is going to have his pick of whoever he wants to try and blow up because there's a number of squishy targets on his opponent's team.
And actually, just missing a bit of the CS there, but let's have a look at the overall game and where we stand in terms of gold totals, towers and kills. 29.1 to 26,500 gold, 1-1 in turrets, 11-9 in kills. Let's have a look down the individual gold. Where is the main difference? It's between the AD carries, really. I mean, 1,500, 1,600 at this point in favor of Genja.
So call it a BF sword difference, at least in terms of items or stats, but the way that Genja's built, he's actually prioritized that and put it into a Last Whisper. And it comes from obviously having the additional kills and a big amount of CS extra, but they've gone aggressive.
This is where things change, as we are going to see the flash over the wall from Darian. They know his position. They know that Fizz is coming down as well. They could see him thanks to Destiny. Is Alex going to go through the wall, and he doesn't care that they could see him there. Chum the Water coming in, and Alex going to get knocked in the air. Can they get the finisher? Good stun card. There's a cocoon onto Soaz. Well, in comes Darian onto Peke. Can they double up here? Yes, they will. It's Darian that gets both.
2 for 1 in that exchange. Good gold card coming up from Xpeke, but unfortunately, that Chum the Waters just picked him up. In the mid lane, though, Cyanide has found Sona.
Not easy to get away from the bear, that's going to be for sure. Edward's going to try his best, and he's got that Oracle on, which makes him an even juicier target. Here comes Diamond from the side, going to get the Wither down. Edward trying his best to get away from this one. He's going to stay around for that extra bit of damage, and after all that, it's Cyanide that's forced to flash away.
Very, very well played there from Edward. He was forced to use the Crescendo and his Ignite just to fend off Cyanide. He was a hungry bear, but he wasn't able to pick up the kill. So defensive play forced them away. They did get the flash out of Cyanide, but it was in exchange for the Ghost from Diamond Proc. So Diamond will come out a little bit better in that, as he will have his Summoner spell up and available before his opponent in the jungle.
So looking down the CS, that top lane, still an advantage for Elise, but not a massive one, with Kha'Zix having those 3 kills, but the 4 deaths to his name, 6.6 to 6.6 thousand gold. It's actually in favor just about by like 50 gold here in favor of Kha'Zix. In the jungle, 5.6 to 6.2, so again, not massive amounts there. That's extra farm that we've seen with Nasus. Plus, let's not forget 2 dragons that we've seen picked up by Gambit at this point. Mid lane actually bang even on CS, 6.4 thousand to 7,000 gold. I mean, 0.68, not what Peke wanted right now, but 8 assists is the real vital stat that he's got there, because when he's moved around these lanes with Destiny, he's made it count.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. He's keeping himself relevant, and the numbers that you just pointed out, the difference in kills and those 2 dragons is basically what makes up that goal difference. So even with all this chaotic craziness, the 2 teams are still staying relatively even in overall gold for their teams, because of the fact that the 80 carries that are behind in CS have obviously got some kills, keeps them relevant. Soaz gets withered, and he eats a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, he's going to get knocked up here, but actually Gambit decide not to follow on from that one. Just want to get Kha'Zix away from that middle lane. If anyone knows how dangerous he can be, it's going to be Alex Hitch. Here we go. Yellow Star putting down damage onto Edward, but Genja is there as well, and they don't want to get involved with that one. Even though they now both have Last Whisper and both have Bloodthirster, Cyanide runs in towards Alex Hitch, and that bear is still very scary. But look at this again. Gambit, 2-man dragon going on.
Fnatic have had 0 vision the entirety of all of these Drakes. They haven't even tried to contest. Cyanide's a little bit overextended, but there's no Chum the Water, so he may not get locked up. Let's see what happens.
Well, there is a cocoon going in there, but can they do the damage here that they need to do? Alex going to dive through through on towards Soaz, decides, well, Cyanide's actually the better target for this one. It's going to be Alex that picks that one up. Where's the next Cocoon going to come from? There it is, jumped away from, but they turn around on towards Xpeke. He's going to gold card. He'll Zhonya's as well, but that will only keep him alive for the duration. And Gambit take another couple of kills for none, taking down Cyanide and Xpeke, and they're going to be taking a middle outer turret, and it's a 30-second spawn time here for Peke. They may even get more from it.
They're going to continue pushing on the mid lane. There's no defense there. The fact that Genja was keeping the top lane busy means they're going to trade this inner turret. Soaz is doing the best he can to clear the waves, but he's not going to offer much resistance, and the rest of Gambit are going to keep the pressure on. They're stacked up in the mid lane, and the amount of aggression that can come out from Fizz and from Elise diving forward is really what helped them get those previous kills. Soaz and Cyanide, can they defend?
Well, turret already down to half HP. Void Spike's not landing onto anyone from Gambit, as Yellow Star going to go aggressive here on Genja. Half of his health actually gone. But in the end, he will not push through there for the kill. Interesting stuff here as Alex actually going to catch Cyanide out. He'd walk straight in towards them. He's going to be finished off there by the Ignite of Alex Ich.
Face checking the bush and eating a lobster. That is exactly what signed his death warrant. Right now, you cannot afford to do that with the pressure that Gambit's applying on the map. Fnatic need to get some more vision in their side of the jungle and not give away free kills. That 3,000 gold lead that we had 4 minutes ago has now extended to a 6,000 gold lead, and it's starting to get very, very scary, especially because that Fizz is a full item ahead. Lichbane and Zhonya's Hourglass, as opposed to the Sorcerer's Shoes and Zhonya's.
Yeah, Xpeke down 7 times in this one. We pointed out that actually he's got a lot of kills compared to everyone else, but his KD not necessarily so amazing because he died a lot. And, well, he's died 7 times already here, which is a lot, but he's got 8 assists. He's been involved in 8 of those 10 kills so far that Fnatic have managed to put onto the map, as Diamond almost getting rid of the ward.
I think he interrupted it. I think he actually right-clicked and moved to cancel the last auto attack. Nevertheless, Edward's got the Oracle's Elixir, so that pink eye is going to allow him to see the ward and get rid of it, and obviously carry on putting some more pressure towards this top lane. You can see that Misfortune immediately started backing off once they seen that Edward and Nasus were there. May be able to catch Edward here if Cyanide goes in, but here comes Twisted Fate.
Oh, but there was the flash from Edward. He didn't want to have any part of that one. This flash is completely away from things. And Peke will say, well, it's all right, guys. I just wanted to get vision of him anyway.
Now, I want to take a look at some of the items because we've looked at a few of them, and it seems as though Darren is doing something a little bit differently with this Elise. So he got that Sign Stone very early, and he obviously then picked up the Ruby Crystal, turned that into an Aegis of the Legion, and then followed that on with Liandry. So he's part support, part AP. Now, 4 members of Gambit, they've started off from Baron. Misfortune's going to get there very, very quickly, but Baron's going down quickly. It's 3,000 HP.
This could be very dangerous, and he's going to go down there. Picked up with a crescendo now from Edward coming in. The Wither is on Enrated. He will try and flash away, but surely not got enough to escape. Genja actually picks it up in the end with that True Shot Barrage. Darian is walking down that middle lane as well. They may try and push home and get an inhibitor from this one. Peke, obviously, with those wildcards, will try and get rid of the minion waves, but they're tanky enough here, especially since Darian did go in, as you said, for Doran's shield, for that Sightstone, plus the Aegis in there as well, so they could have just tanked straight through as Genja goes aggressive onto who was it? I totally missed on. So sorry. And also I didn't notice the Guardian Angel picked up by Genja.
GA was picked up a couple of minutes ago by Genja. He picked it up after his last Whisper was saving up, and it's pretty much that Season 2 build that we've seen out of time and time again. And he's actually been doing this for the last 2 or 3 weeks. They managed to get that mid lane inhibitor.
Is that Season 3? What's that?
Now the rest of Gambit have stacked up in the top lane. They're going to have super minions in the mid. All the rest of their minions are now 100 HP healthier, and they're going to carry on applying the pressure onto this top lane. Edward is not with them though, so please keep that in mind, that the crescendo is not going to be there, and even if it was, it's on cooldown, so it couldn't be used.
By the time he gets there,
there we go.
Crescendo might be available for them. They should have a good amount of gold here to back with and spend after taking that Baron, plus pushing in for a good few turrets. And I can tell you that there's 1,900 gold on Elise, 1,600 on Nasus, 1,700 on Fizz, and 2,500 on Ezreal. So talk about plenty to spend when they get back.
Yeah, very, very wealthy right now. They're going to buy all the cookies and candy bars that they can afford when they get back to base, but it's not time for shopping because they want to keep applying pressure. They've got the regen that Baron offers them, and they're just sticking here to the sides. Look at Alex's position. He's hiding off to the side, waiting to see if he can get good timing on that that chum the waters. If anyone oversteps their bounds, now they've decided to move in and roll through the middle. Pink Ward is down to declare any vision that Fnatic may have and just deny any possible counters. And it looks like they're going in.
They are going to go in. There goes Bullet Time. Crescendo is available. Are we going to see Edward putting it down? Yes, we will. Genja now dominating as Peke tries to flash away. Use the Zhonya's. He's going to die straight afterwards, and they're focusing down Yellow Star. They may get him before he can get to the fountain. Yes, it's Edward that gets that one. There's the fountain actually doing some damage, but you hardly even notice where that one came in. And Gambit now 5 versus 2, may be able to win the game right here, right now. First turret goes down, second one will surely follow, and it's just Cyanide and Soaz to defend. Soaz is just going to go in there, throw down the Void Spikes, but Gambit are going to win their 4th and final game here of the season against Fnatic. Very chaotic match, very entertaining, and a good performance from the Russians to win the game in the end.
The power of Earth is what turned the tide of that battle. Fizz in the mid was able to shut down Twisted Fate time and time and time again, and it was thanks to the damage he was offering and the way the rest of the team played. You have to give props to Genja. He had a great performance. He was out-farming and outplaying his opponents. Well played to Gambit. 3-1, and we won't see this matchup again for this split.
We won't, but there's always next time. Right now we have Gambit closing that gap on Fnatic. To break down the game is, of course, our usuals here for this week. Freak and Jason, take it away.
Hey, thanks very much, Joe. Jason, that was a spectacular game. I mean, we saw fairly one-sided games throughout the day so far, and then that one was crazy. Kills back and forth, like, that game was ridiculous.
I see your smile right now, and I know some puns are coming. I know it's on the tip of your tongue. I'm just waiting for them to come out.
Oh, I just want to talk about the game. I mean, they'll come naturally.
Okay, we'll talk about the game.
Let's talk about the game.
Early on, we did see those lane swap happen. Actually, well, it didn't happen right away. It happened once they saw, oh, Alex is really strong at this point. We probably shouldn't go against him. They tried that lane swap. Didn't work out for him. And then you saw Xpeke, who died in a 1v1 against Genja because he was running that 24 flat armor pen. Xpeke only had 14 armor, so he was doing true damage to him. I don't think he expected that, and he just blew him up. Gave a nice lead to Genja.
Now, Xpeke did not expect that lane, and really it was ill-fated for him. Continue. Please continue.
I kind of want to leave you hanging, but yeah, I mean, it was a very chaotic game for all the 6 games we had today. This was the closest one of the day.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of action back and forth. I mean, we saw Darien, who, this something's really interesting to me is that he ran a Sightstone. And you never see anyone except the support picking that up, but we know Darien as being that person who likes to be really aggressive, likes to push quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it seemed like his team was like, hey, Darien, you can do that, but pick up a Sightstone. Stop getting killed.
And it worked really well for him as a thing. Actually, I was looking at the duels he had with Soaz once in a while, and he would have wards and forward brushes where Kha'Zix was waiting. And there's 2 ways that works really, really well. So one, the Kha'Zix passive only charges when you get out of sight, and wards block that. If you want to actually know something's like warded, just throw out W and wait for your passive to come back, and you'll see if it's warded or not. And so he actually blocked a lot of passive applications that way. And then second to that, really, he was able to see, oh, is he going to jump me here? He could throw out blind cocoons that Soaz was never expecting, and he could start fights that way. So it was really, really smart to actually pick that up, even with the matchup considered.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I honestly didn't even think of that. So
I didn't either until just now. I was like, you know what?
Well, we had Fizz in the mid lane. What'd you really think about that?
I mean, he really shut down Twisted Fate. Like, that was through and through a counter pick, and like throughout the entire Champions Select, it was like, okay, they grabbed Kha'Zix, so it's going to be Zed. 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 Okay, maybe it's TF. No, they grabbed TF. Okay, it's going to be Zed. And then it was Fizz. And, I mean, he specifically tried to counter lane that, really. Alex he opened the whole can of worms there. Suddenly, Fizz, this great counterpick Twisted Fate, followed him around the map, and anytime he found him, he would just finish him off.
Yeah, and it was something that was really interesting is that he was running 13 armor pen and 5 magic penetration, like flat. Then he had 8% from each. So, and he even went, on top of that, red pot right off the bat. So he really wanted to go for an early kill, which you just saw how much damage he could do. Each auto attack took away like a third of Xpeke's life right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's an early game gambit, right? He's going for consumables early on to deal as much damage early. Like the armor pen as well just flows into that because Fizz, not only does he actually scale off attack damage from his Q, it'll convert it to magic damage, but he does scale off AD there. But again, the fact that he went for hybrid reds and actually took flat armor pen from the 21 offense masteries meant he was trying to land basic attacks early on. The 15 AD from the red elixir, all that stuff said, yes, I'm going to really chunk down TF. And he did it over and over.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because Fnatic got the first blood on a Genja. Like, they had that early advantage, but, the Gambit we've come to know, they don't care if they lose first blood. They don't care if they lose a couple of deaths. They're gonna stay focused and come back as the game goes on.
Yeah, they're an instinctive team. Like it's the one way I would describe how Gambit plays is instinct based. That they're so intelligent in fighting and lanes and matchups that that the individuals are allowed to override everyone else in champs. Like say, no, I really want to play Elise here. I think it's going to make the most sense. Or no, I really think Fizz is going to work here myself. And they have just such clever builds. Genja had a bunch of armor pen. Alex Ich had a bunch of armor pen. Like they're picking up for these matchups to deal early damage, and then in chaotic games, their instincts just thrive. And they're able to just like pick these fights that are crazy and back and forth, and they get such great battles.
Yeah, and you mentioned the items because you see Genji picked up a Guardian's Angel because he realized, hey, Darren can mitigate all the damage with the repel. Alex can use his E to sit up and dodge damage, but he's the one that really could be locked down even though he's an Arcane Shift, and he ended up surviving. Didn't even get that popped, I believe, once the entire game, but. For MVP, because we should crown someone, I think Fnatic discovered it really was Shark Week here at European LCS Week 8. And, of course, that means Alex Ich was our MVP of the game.
Yeah.
Because he just played a phenomenal Fizz. Like you said, shut down Xpeke and just kind of really forced him to respond and really leave lanes.
Yeah, and on Fizz, I mean, he's scaled throughout the game so incredibly well. Like, I like that we're seeing new picks come out here, right? I like that we're seeing new thing. Right? We had Ziggs and Annie in North America. We saw Malzahar, and I mean, we've seen Fizz before. I know Tabs plays him a whole bunch. Right. We may have seen him in the weeks before. I actually don't know for certain if we've seen him in EULCS yet, but he's one of those fringe picks you almost never get to see, and it's just awesome to spot that.
He's like a Kassadin now because you can't first pick him, you get countered. So he's kind of your last pick to counter someone else, which is where you really thrive because you saw right there, like Xpeke could do nothing. He got shut down. He was actually both AP mids were lower level than the AD carry supports throughout a good portion of that game.
And then the top lane, the duo lane just became a farm fest where Ezreal was up 50 minions, and then it just stayed there the entire time, and all the other players just kept battling each other, and Gambit always got the best of them. So, once again, huge props to Alex, the MVP for this match. An amazing pick for them. Of course, we had talked about him a little bit a while ago, but you can see him on your screen, and just the look of certainty. Right? He's like squinting at the cam, and he's like, yeah, I played Fizz this game, and I'm a boss.
It looks like he's also saying, vote for me for the All-Star match.
Vote for me, I got Pentakill.
I was waiting to say, like, this commercial was endorsed by Alex Ich.
Alex Ich. I think he would endorse that game very well. It was absolutely well played by him. So anyway, guys, that's it from us here at the Analyst Desk. Thank you to our special guest, Feral Pony. And, well, he was right here. We love him very much. What is this, like, grimace on your face? He was in this general area. Shut up. We're moving on. And of course, let's pass it back to the main stage with the lovely Shox for an interview with Genja.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here with Genja. I don't think we had a chance to interview him a lot, and Alex will be translating. So first off, going up against the game against Fnatic, did you strategize specifically to not getting backdoored by them?
Была ли у нас какая-то стратегия специально против Fnatic, то есть против бэкдора, чтобы они нас не забэкдорили?
Ну, основная стратегия против Натика, в частности против ТФ, это самая лучшая стратегия против него, фармить самого ТФ. А так, в целом, мы больше ни на что не рассчитывали.
So the main strategy against the backdoor and TF is farming TF. So we coordinated on killing TF as much as possible.
Okay, farming TF. Now, straight off the bat, they first picked Misfortune, a champion you really like to play, so you had to go to Ezreal. So how does Misfortune hold up to Ezreal, and how was the game for you?
Они первым пиком взяли МФ, то есть, и тебе пришлось пикнуть Израиля. Было ли тебе комфортно на Израиле против МФ? Ну и какие были проблемы?
Вообще, играть против МФ — это мое не самое любимое дело, но зная, что они ее заберут, я был к этому готов, поэтому это было вполне ожидаемо.
Playing against Misfortune isn't really good, or he doesn't like it at all, but we knew that they will take it, 80% chance or 90%, so he was ready for that. That's why he trained Ezreal.
Okay. Now, Alex, you're MVP, and you pulled out the Fizz. Can you elaborate about channeling your inner incarnation or Tabs and elaborate on your build?
So I want to say hi to Vizik, though he's banned. I stole your build and dominated Fnatic with it. I'm happy.
All right. Now, finally, for the All-Star, Yellow Pete is currently in first position, I believe, for 80 carry. Do you believe he deserves the spot, and why should you get the spot, Genja?
Yellow Pete сейчас на первом месте в All-Stars воутинге. Ты думаешь, он достоин этого? Ну или этого достоин ты?
Я считаю, что нужно проголосовать за меня. Но это дело каждого. Но я предлагаю, голосуйте за меня.
Genja thinks that people should vote for him. It's like everyone can vote for like the player he likes, but Genja says that better vote for me.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Genja and Alex. All right, let's go over to Joe and Quickshot one last time to take us through today's matches and take a look at the standings.
Thanks a lot, Shocks. Well, Trevor, an amazing day overall, ending in just a brilliant, brilliant matchup. We expected it there between Gambit and Fnatic, and actually, it kind of surpassed my expectations. The chaoticness, is that a word?
It is now.
It is where I come from, in the north of England, where anything is actually a word. You just have to say it loud enough. But it was a crazy, crazy game, which deserved to be the highlight of the day, I think.
Yeah, it definitely was a great ending to the day. But let's talk about the matches from start to finish. First and foremost, we had, of course, SK versus Fnatic. It was a very one-sided affair, with Xbeca's Twisted Fate going all over the map, shutting SK Gaming down.
Yep, then Gambit moving in against EG. Again, not the closest of games we've ever seen, with Gambit coming out on top of that one to give them, well, to keep up with Fnatic, not really closing the gap after Fnatic's win.
Yeah, keeping the trend of sort of stompy-type games, Copenhagen Wolves put on a display and tripped up the Giants in their matchup once again with the Twisted Fate.
And in our fourth match of the day, Dragonborn's woeful streak continued. They are now 0 for 9, matching what the Copenhagen Wolves started with, but against Authority taking a valuable win down there at the bottom.
Yeah, Dude as well, taking the KDA record. 0-0-15 gives him a 15 KDA in this match, overtaking Edward.
It should retire now.
It supports at the top, Match 5 of the day was a very close affair between SK and EG, trading back and forth, but SK winning every single team fight and really stomping an Authority in the mid-game.
Yeah, and of course, our final game of the day, Gambit versus Fnatic. Top of the table clash. Gambit closing that gap on Fnatic. And, you know, we're having all kinds of sports where, you know, it comes down to the last play days of the season. Of course, Gambit and Fnatic won't play each other again now. They've played their 4 games with Gambit 3-1 in the lead, but it could still come right down to those very last play days.
Yeah, there's 2 weeks left, and this week was touted as Shark Week by Jason, but I don't know if he knows Earth's a manatee, so I would have called it Manatee Week personally. That's just me.
I don't think it matters too much. I was trying to get, I was going to say I don't think it manatees too much, but it doesn't really fit in that well. So let's have a look at the standings then, all bad puns aside. Of course, the top team is still Fnatic here with 16 for 4 with a 0.8 win ratio. Gambit in second on 0.089, closing in there. 1 win where Fnatic lose will change all that.
Yeah, very, very close indeed. But what we need to do is keep our eyes on Evil Geniuses as we continue tomorrow's games, where we're going to see the bottom 4 teams playing a number of matches. If, for example, the Copenhagen Wolves go on another 3 or 4 wins, they're going to be closing that gap by 50%, closer to a 50% win-loss ratio. If EG lose 1 or 2 more games, it's really, really close now between 4th and 5th, and we could actually see some shuffling in those standings.
And against Authority, new support Daoud coming in there looked really, really good today, and they're 7-12, only 1 win behind taking over the Copenhagen Wolves in the table, so they're definitely a team to watch. On the other hand, Giants and Dragonborns in particular, having a woeful time of things right now. 4 wins they have, 14 losses, 9 in a row that they're losing today. They need to come up tomorrow huge.
Best case scenario for them, if they win their 10 lost matches in the season, is to tie with Evil Genius's raid call. That is the absolute best scenario for them right now. So they're going to need to do some soul searching and see if they can actually bring out some inner fire, because right now it's looking like they're going to be facing relegation.
Well, guys, if you want to see all the stats from the LCS so far, as well as the latest VODs and recaps, then make sure you get yourselves over to lolesports.com. And don't forget, you can still vote for your All-Star teams too. The top 5 players from each region will battle as your LCS All-Star team. So remember to get your voting. That closes on April the 15th. That's it from me and Quickshot tonight and all the guys over the analysis desk. Let's head back over to Shocks for some final thoughts. Good night.
Thank you very much, Joe. Yeah, very exciting day here again at the LCS studios in Cologne. Copenhagen Wolves coming up big. Gambit not clinching first place, but dealing a blow to Fnatic. SK Gaming in third. EG and Dragonborns looking for themselves. But this was only the first day. Tomorrow we got another 6 matches coming your way. We start the action at 2 p.m. Central European summertime. We start the day off with the Dragonborns versus the Copenhagen Wolves, then AAA versus Giants, DB versus Evil Geniuses, and then we continue with Fnatic versus Against All Authority, the Giants versus SK, and the Copenhagen Wolves get a rematch versus Gambit in the last game of the day. Thanks from all of us here in the studio. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see all of you tomorrow.